Namaste Bharat. Recently, India's GDP reports were out. According to it, the annual GDP growth rate for the financial year 2020-21 was measured at minus 7.3%. To be honest, a terrible performance ever since India's independence. Why? How? Why did this happen? What is the government's role in it? We all are sensible enough and we can understand. But I'd like to talk about what does this GDP as a measurement do? And this number minus 7.3%, does it really affect the lives of Indian citizens? And what does it hide? Come, let's find out in this video. Since independence till the current time, there have been 5 instances when the GDP fell down to negative numbers or the growth rate fell down in negative terms, and 2 of them being in the most dangerous times. The first one was between the year 1965 to 66 when the GDP fell down to minus 2.6%. Here, the main reason was because we were at war with Pakistan, and the war had created or caused an entire downfall of the Indian economy. Second was between the year 1979 to 80 when the GDP fell down to minus 5.6%. Again, the problem was the drought situation had caused an entire agriculture slowdown in the country. Secondly, the Iranian revolution that broke out in Iran had stopped all the petroleum products coming over to our land. Apart from these two, the COVID-19 epidemic or pandemic has caused a devastating effect on the Indian GDP by taking it down to minus 7.3%, the worst since India's independence. India is not the only country to be affected by COVID or this. There are about 166 countries across the globe that have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and their GDPs have been taken down to negative numbers. At the same time, there are 23 countries, 23 to 28 countries across the globe that have been able to manage and keep up their GDP growth rate in positive numbers even in the raging pandemic. And those countries include China, Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Vietnam. So the government here wants to blame everything on the pandemic, but we all know that since 2016, the financial year of the end of the financial year 2016-2017, there was a fluctuation in our GDP growth rate, and it was always seen a downfall. Apart from this, to see the positive outlook, there has been a 1.3% hike in the GDP growth rate from the last quarter, so that's a very good positive note. Secondly, the RBI had estimated that the GDP would be around somewhere minus 7.5%, but it's ended up being minus 7.3%. So in microeconomics, all these point percentage also makes a big difference. So that's also a positive note. And thirdly, if all goes good, if the third wave doesn't hit India in an adverse manner, then the economy or the GDP growth rate is somewhere in positive numbers, and the outlook is predicted at a positive 7 or a positive 9.3%. But the biggest question that I like to pose here and ask here is, does these numbers really make a difference or signify the kind of plight a common man, a common citizen of India is facing, or the condition that he has been through in our country? To understand this, a CMEI report that conducted its research on nearly 2 lakh citizens came out with a report stating that nearly 97% of Indians were poorer than what they were last year. A Pew Research Center, a US-based research center, stated that 75 million Indians were pushed into poverty. The year 2020 saw a major portion of the Indian population going into poverty. At the same time, the multi-billionaires became richer. How did this happen? Why did this happen? Let's get to know. GDP or gross domestic product has 4 main components in it. The first one is consumption. The goods and services consumed by its citizens add to the component of a GDP. Second is the business. How many business investment is a country having is also a component of GDP. Thirdly, business investment. The number of investments or the government spendings make the third component of the GDP. And last component is the net exports. How much a country is exporting and importing. The export minus import makes the net export. So these are the four main components that make up the GDP. Here, the country, because of lockdown and several other crises in the year 2020, people became jobless, people were unemployed, they didn't have money to spend. So the first component, consumption, fell down rapidly. At the same time, the government spending increased. So GDP here is an example that does not reflect upon the component that fell down, else it is reflecting on the place where the government is spending, that is in the health infrastructure. So that's how we can understand from this. Chidambaram, the former finance minister, has stated that the government should increase its spending, and not just on any other ordinary projects, and not on projects like Central Vista as well. So projects like Central Vista is just a one-time investment project, and they cannot give healthy returns to the government. Hence, they should concentrate more on putting money into direct benefit transfer, something like direct benefit transfer, and they should put money to the farmers, to give out money to the unemployed poor people. So that's when people will start spending money, and the component of consumption will definitely increase. Here I'd like to talk about another interesting feature about our GDP with an example. If there is a broken road and government is trying to fix it by putting in huge amount, and the contractor makes it a low quality road, and again the road breaks down, the government again puts a huge amount to repair the road. So this cycle keeps continuing. This is actually a good factor for the GDP. Rather, if they build a good healthy road for 10 years, that is a bad factor for GDP. So the kind of resources used, the resources or the utilities used here are time waste, money waste, and it should be a one-time project. But the GDP is asking us to make it a cyclic project. So that is what the GDP factor tells us about. Second example about convenience or being happy, I'd like to talk about through an example. So here you buy a movie ticket on a Book My Show website. You would be happy that you bought a cheaper ticket in your time convenience. But if you go to a box office and buy a ticket, you'll have to adjust and compromise to the timings of the theater, and the employee who's in the box office will get benefit from it, and his boss will get benefit from it, and through the boss the cycle continues. The more the intermediaries are involved, that is good for GDP, but your happiness and your convenience is not satisfied here. The next problem with GDP is it does not aggregate. In a way, it tells us the average GDP growth of the country, and it does not exactly tell us the distribution of wealth of the country. In a country, if the 10% of the population is earning in huge numbers and controlling the economy, it does not care about the 90% of the ones who are not earning, unemployed, poor people. So the spending of these 10% population will rapidly increase the GDP and does not aggregate or add on the values of 90%. It is seen in our country as well. So if you remove these upper class or the elite class from the economy, then our economy would be shattered by if we only consider the 90% economy of the poor and unemployed class. Problem is from the perspective of GDP. The higher the spending is, the bigger the things are, then the GDP growth rate would be higher. But what is at its cost? The financial sector kept growing and growing, but eventually it was a financial crisis. And when it comes to the nature and environment, it's very worse. But the nature and natural resources are very limited. But due to the growing in population and demand for the environment, we need to cut down on trees and parks. For example, let's take a nature biodiversity park, and which has an amazing flora and fauna in it. So the nature is left untouched, but there is no human activities. So the population of that place or the GDP of the place is zero because there is no economic activity. In case if we start out works in it, cutting down trees and putting up resorts and parks, making it parks like Maldives, the islands of Lakshadweep and Andaman, if you make those into Maldives, then the economy of the GDP would definitely rapidly rise. But the environment is under control. So cutting down trees would cause deforestation and increase in pollution, we would say yes, but GDP would say no. GDP would say cut down trees, build increase in pollution, make factories, spend on factories, make anti-pollutant masks, wear cylinders, oxygen cylinders, and roam on roads. So that's how GDP works. So does that mean we need to neglect GDP as an indicator? Absolutely not. So making this video isn't to ask you to stop following the GDP data from now on. GDP continues to play an important role, an important indicator to judge and assess the overall economy in a larger perspective. But all I'm trying to say is GDP does not generalize things. It has a lot of limitations and problems. The numbers that GDP give you or present you, there is a lot more things that it is hiding. To get the exact things and to get to know what GDP hides, there are several, we should examine the other indicators as well, like the global hunger index, the peace index, to see how peaceful the country is, environmental protection index, whether the environment of the country is being protected or properly or not. We need to check the air pollution. To understand the inequalities of the country, we need to focus on the inequality index that shows the amount of inequality that is prevalent in the country. To judge the development of a common man in the country, the Human Development Index (HDI) should be seen. Apart from this, the Genuine Progress Indicator is a very good measurement that considers the social and ecological factors that GDP doesn't. But to talk about all this, we would need three other videos. So in my economic playlist, I'll try adding in the future coming episodes. Having said that, it brings us an end to this video. This is Gagan signing off with folded hands, much respect and reverence. Thank you so much.